all ready to leave for our 5th annual winter trip to Bonaire. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't cooperating. There was an ice storm on the way to Ohio. So we left a day early and stayed the night in Atlanta, where we would catch our international flight the next morning. The best part about the hotel was that it was right on the runway, so we got to watch about 1 million planes take off and land before it was our turn to go. 1,563 miles later, we were back. This was our 4th time staying at Belmar and the 2nd time in unit number 14. It was apparent right away that the ocean was angry. Compared to the usual calm we can see from our balcony, there was a heavy surge, and it was just a few days after the full moon, so tides were stronger than usual as well. Still, it was beautiful to watch. After our traditional breakfast on the balcony, we were ready to go diving. Unfortunately, the ocean conditions continued to be rougher than normal for several days. So we headed to Buddy Dive, an affiliate of our resort, which is sheltered by Klein Bonaire, a small uninhabited island off the coast of Bonaire. We've gone diving here many times before. It's a favorite site of ours, so it wasn't a hardship to dive here 5 more times during our trip. In between dives, we hang out under the shade umbrellas and watch the ocean for about 45 minutes before going back under. to a much stronger current than usual, we didn't quite make it as far as we sometimes do, but we were still able to see this small shipwreck called La Mancha. This time, some sergeant majors had laid their eggs on the side and were guarding their purple nests. Once we were done diving for the day, we took a quick ride to the southern end of the island, stopping along the way to check out the ocean conditions. The next morning, the ocean was still turbulent, but we thought we could get away with diving at another of our favorite locations, Windsock. This lone barracuda was by far the biggest one we've ever seen. The people on the left of me were taking photos of it, and it seemed camera shy. It started to move on. At the same time, Alex was adjusting his gear and looking down. He didn't realize he was so close to an enormous fish. Fortunately, this guy wasn't hungry or aggressive in the least and simply went on his way. This is a scorpionfish. It's uncommon to see them free swimming on the reef. They have vibrant colors on their fins, but I stayed far away because they're also extremely poisonous. Once they find a spot sitting on the coral, they're very difficult to see because they look like a rock. Unfortunately, this means people sometimes step on them or put their hands on them and end up getting stung by their spikes. Back in from Windsock, we got tumbled around in the shallows. The current was also very strong, so we decided to take the rest of the day off. First, we went to the Kite City food truck. Don't be fooled, it's amazing. I had a fresh fish wrap made from the catch of the day, which was ironically barracuda. Don't tell that big fish we saw. After lunch, we headed over to the east side of the island to check out the windsurfing mecca, Sorobon. We also saw thousands of flamingos, a wild parrot, and a bunch of donkeys hanging out in and around a mangrove bay. Unfortunately, they were too far from the road to photograph, and the sign said to keep out because there was quicksand. We weren't about to try our luck. Since the weather was no better the next morning, we decided to enjoy the island instead of struggling with diving under subpar conditions. After passing through the main town of Kralendijk, we headed north to check out a few more spots to see if they'd be calmer for diving the next day. This is Oil Slick. You'll see more of it in part 2. Since our food truck lunch was so good the day before, we tried another. This is the Blue Cactus food truck. They specialize in lionfish burgers. Lionfish are not native to this part of the world. They have no natural predators here and have overrun the reefs. Therefore, they're hunted aggressively. Fishermen can get $45 per kilo for their fillets. At least they're delicious, too. After lunch, we continued our drive, stopping by a popular site called 1,000 Steps. Although there's actually only 67 steps down to the amazing beach and dive spot, it probably feels like 1,000 when climbing back up with your tank, weights, and all your gear on your back. Once we got to the north side of the island, we tried to visit the national park. Because it rained more in this trip to Bonaire than all 4 of our previous trips combined, and then some, we weren't very surprised when the ranger told us they were closed due to flooding, so we continued on. This is considered the wild side of the island. If you could see the waves in person, you would understand why. They don't look that intimidating on camera, but I promise they were. Following a quiet homemade shrimp dinner, we got ready to get back in the water. More storms overnight sent us back to Buddy Dive, which was fine because we always have a great time here. Somewhere near here, a stingray popped out of the sand and swam circles in front of us. You'll have to use your imagination, though, since in my excitement, I didn't record it. You work up a pretty solid appetite swimming this much, which was a good thing when we went to At Sea restaurant. We've eaten here before, but this was my first time trying the chef's surprise menu. I was a little nervous, but everything ended up being so amazing it was one of the top 5 meals I've ever eaten. My 4 courses were barracuda and octopus, smoked eel with cauliflower, and duck 3 ways. Alex had the surf and turf. Of course, dessert is always the best part. I really liked this local treat made of cactus, aloe vera, lime sherbet, red fruit, and a local basil-like herb with tea poured over the top. Big fish behind Alex? Wait for it. There. That's not another barracuda. These are tarpon, and they usually follow along with us in the deeper water on our dives. This time they kept circling closer to us and even came super close between us and the ladder when we were getting out. This is my dive computer. It's telling me that I'm 48 feet underwater, have gone a maximum of 56 feet deep, have been diving for 9 minutes in 80-degree water, and have 50 minutes more to dive before I'd need to make a mandatory decompression stop, which we avoid. This rope is tied to the pier at the dive resort right next to Buddy Dive. It's here so that divers swimming along the reef have to cross it as they go by. If you were staying here, you'd turn 90 degrees and follow the rope upwards back to your resort. Some people call it the diver's highway, a foolproof system for making sure you don't get lost at sea. For us, it's usually about where we turn around before heading back to Buddy Dive. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our Bonaire trip video. Join us for the second half to see more of the island, watch us tackle the ladder at Oil Slick, and go on a sailing and snorkeling trip where we get to swim with thousands of non-stinging jellyfish.